When the winter comes, I spend a lot of time sitting in reception areas. It's a good way to keep warm. If you go into a large office building and ask for Mr. Harris in accounts, you can often wait for up to an hour before anyone realises there is no Mr. Harris in accounts. The seats are always soft and sometimes leathery. There are papers and magazines to read. Some companies have coffee machines and fruit. I have a friend called Martin Chope who lets me sleep in the lobby of the World Service. He works all night because people in the Pitcairn Islands have to hear the news. I haven't actually seen my friend since 1983, but we have an arrangement whereby he calls down to reception every hour or so and asks them to tell me he's a bit busy and he'll be down in a minute. I was drowsing at the World Service one evening when a taxi driver came in and shouted, 13 Addison Gardens, West 12. He looked at me because I was the only one there. I didn't want to disappoint him, so I followed him into the taxi. I thought there might be something to eat there. There was a party going on at 13 Addison Gardens, West 12. I walked in to find a long hallway which had been entirely decorated in AstroTurf. It was like walking through a tubular field. At the end, there was a large room with lots of monitors showing a porno version of the Teletubbies. A lot of media people were standing around rubbing their noses and talking very fast. And in the centre of this gaggle there was a comedy actor I had read about in a waiting room magazine. He was called Tony. He was standing next to a huge ice sculpture of his head. I was still hungry, so I was stuffing my pockets with crab tartlets when Tony the star banged into me. His eyes were bulging with drugs and self-confidence. "You," he said, "weren't you in show 6? I couldn't answer because I didn't know what he was talking about, so I carried on filling my pockets. "Yeah," said Tony. "You were fantastic, and I want to celebrate your performance with a blowjob. You," he shouted to another actress, "get over here and suck my cock." An actress approached him, slowly, unsure whether this was a good career move, but Tony had produced a rubber vagina and was waving it around, shouting, "I don't need you anyway, you filthy whore." Tony looked at me and asked why I wasn't laughing. I still don't know what to say, so I put another crab tartlet in my mouth, and put in another just in case. He looked like he was going to kill me. Then suddenly he threw his arm around my shoulders and whispered, "It's because you see, isn't it? You can see everything." I swallowed a pulpy mass of crab. "I love this guy," he shouted. Then he took me round the room, introducing me to television executives and producers. By the time I got back to the crab tartlets, I had an agent, a transmittable pilot, a 5-year development deal, and someone with a mobile phone said that Jarvis Cocker wanted to meet me. Then, Tony asked me in a strangely confidential way for my belt. I gave it him, and he disappeared. My pockets were full of crab and my trousers started to slip and sag towards my knees. A man from Channel 4 came up to me and said, "If you think you're really going to get a series out of this, you've got another think coming." "Thank you," I said, and went to look for my belt. The basement was full of people using the drug cocaine. One man seemed to be trying to introduce it to the end of his penis. Another was having his skull trepanned with a Black & Decker drill in order to get the powder straight into his brain. I went up 2 flights. At the top of the house I heard muffled humming and running water. I carefully pushed open a door and found Tony standing on tiptoe on the edge of the bath. The room was lit by candles, and the Prodigy was playing on a mini-disc. Tony was naked except for 2 hairdryers taped to his thighs, blowing hot air towards his balls, and he was hanging from the shower rail with my belt around his neck. His left hand was holding onto the belt to stop him choking completely, while the right was guiding the path of the rubber vagina. "Sorry," I said. Tony lost his balance and plunged into the water. The hairdryers sparked and fizzed, and the lights blew. Tony flapped and twitched on the end of the belt and seemed to be trying to say something. I asked if I could have my belt back, but I couldn't tell if any of the sounds he made was yes or no. I closed the door and left a note saying, "Please can I have my belt back when you've finished with it, care of Martin Chope, BBC World Service, Bush House," and groped my way downstairs in the dark. The party looked like it was over, because nobody could see what they were doing. So I left and sat on a nearby bench, where I offered a tramp a cramped tartlet. "I've got a transmittable pilot," I said. "Serves you right, you fucking puff," he replied. I never got my belt back. but a week later I saw a picture of it on the cover of a magazine.